Hello, listeners and viewers. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Guys, the T20 Cricket World Cup is in its final stages now. We are at the deciding end of it all, and there are 8 teams that are fighting for the final 4 spots. Today in this video, we are going to run through both the groups. We're going to analyze all 8 teams, and I'm going to give you my prediction who I think will be the 4 lucky teams to qualify for the semifinals. So stay tuned, watch till the end, and guys, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So in the first group, we've got India, Australia, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. So it's relatively straightforward that there are 2 big teams, India and Australia, who will be the clear favorites to go through this group. Not only are they the favorites, but they have taken off really well. They're off to a great start, winning their first matches respectively. So they already have a lead. They already have an edge over Afghanistan and Bangladesh. But let's look at a few interesting scenarios. Afghanistan plays Australia today, and as you remember in the 50-over World Cup that was recently played, Afghanistan really ran Australia close, and at one stage it was looking like Australia would not be able to chase down the target. But then Maxwell, on his famous one leg, stood up and scored a double century and knocked the Afghani hopes out of the stadium, basically. So can Afghanistan give Australia a tough time again? Well, potentially yes. Afghanis have the flair, Afghanis have the firepower in their ranks, and they've got the potential to cause an upset. And especially in these spinning conditions, they are doubly dangerous. So there is potential for an upset. What about the other match? Now, Bangladesh is playing India. That one for me is straightforward. India's gonna win it because India is very, very dominant against the smaller teams, against the minnows, I'd say. They absolutely thrash them, brush them aside, give them no chance whatsoever. So for me, if I am to predict, I would say Australia will beat Afghanistan and India will beat Bangladesh. But the Afghanistan-Australia match is much trickier. It's much more closer than the other one. It's much harder to predict, put it this way. So if there is an upset in this match and Afghanistan get the better of Australia, they get Bangladesh in their final match, and I'm pretty sure that Afghanis, if they're on a run, they'll beat Bangladesh, and then this group will be much more interesting. But I would hope that the better team goes through, and for me, Australia is a much better team as a whole as compared to Afghanistan. So I'm banking on Australia to beat Afghanistan, India to beat Bangladesh in the upcoming matches, and then we'll be off to the final games of this group, which will be India and Australia. Whoever wins will basically top the group. So I would put my money on Australia because if you look at the Indian side, as good as they are, as talented as they are, I think their balance is a little bit out. They haven't played Kuldeep at the start of the tournament. Now they've brought him back in. They're going in with 3 spinners. The batting lineup is not that long if you look at some of the other teams, whereas Australia is a much more seasoned team. They're much more balanced, and they've just got better T20 players, I'd say. Like, they've got the flair, that they've got the dynamism, which I think a little bit lacks in India. So I would say Australia would be the group winners. They'll top the group, and India will be the runners up from Group A. So that's my prediction for Group A. Now let's move on to the Group B, which is a lot more trickier and much, much harder to predict. Guys, we've got the hosts, West Indies, we've got the mighty England, and we've got the unbeaten South Africa all in this group. Plus, on top of that, we've got the dark horses for the tournament, the co-host USA, who also can have their say yet again in this tournament. So what's the current position, guys? South Africa is unbeaten. They've won 2 out of 2. They're sitting pretty at the top. Then comes the West Indies, with a slightly better run rate, but they've won 1 and lost 1, same like England. So both of these teams are on 2 points each, whereas the USA are yet to open their account, having lost both their matches. But guys, this group is super interesting because South Africa, although they've won both their matches, they've won it with very small margins. So their run rate is not that good. And they're up against West Indies, who've lost 1 and won the other one, but their run rate is extremely good. They smashed the USA team, so their run rate is right up there. And what happens is if South Africa beats West Indies, then that's over. South Africa will just go through as the group winners from this one. But what if the West Indies get the better of South Africa? Then they are level on points, and as I already mentioned, West Indies has a much superior run rate. So West Indies will cross the South Africans and become the number 1 team in this group. And then the other match between England and USA, it's straightforward to call. English team is much, much better than the USA. USA having just lost to the West Indies very badly. I think their confidence will be shattered a little bit. And going into this all-important game, I think the stakes are high, the pressure will be high as well. USA have already defied all the odds by getting to where they have reached so far. So I don't think we should expect too much from them going into the latter stages of the tournament. And I believe that England will easily beat the USA. Now, what happens if England beat USA? They also will be on 4 points. So we'll have a tie here. We'll have the South Africans, we'll have West Indies, and we'll have England all on 4 points each. And that's a tricky situation here because, as I already mentioned, West Indies have a very good run rate, so they'll qualify. What about the South Africans and England? It will be very, very close. It'll come down to the run rate, and it'll come down to whatever the winning margins are. If South Africa lose to West Indies by a small margin, then England will obviously have to comprehensively beat USA to get the better of South Africa. But if the margin of victory for West Indies or South Africa is higher, then all the England team will need to do is just beat USA, which they most likely will. So guys, this is super interesting and this is almost impossible for me to call, but I'm not a fan of the host nations going out of the tournament early, so I'll bank on the West Indies to beat South Africa and go through, and England to beat USA and go through as the second team in this tournament. What I'm predicting, guys, I hate to say that, but it's yet another heartbreak for South Africa. Now, historically, we've seen South Africa always find a way to crash out of big tournaments unexpectedly. And this time around, imagine their bad luck. They are one of the only teams who are still unbeaten. Yes, they've won by fine margins. They've won some very, very close games, but they've been continuously winning. And even in the knockout stages, they've won both their matches. So what I'm predicting is that they are going to lose their only match, the first match in this World Cup that they are going to lose, and they're going to exit the tournament based on just the one loss. That's extremely harsh. I hate to say that, but this is what I see is going to happen. Let's see if South Africa can defy the odds. They can, get the better of the pressure this time around, and they can keep their winning streak going. But my prediction would be that West Indies qualify as the Group B winners, and England will qualify as the runners-up. So guys, if you agree with me, please mention it in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share the video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.